He threw white parties that lasted till sunrise, danced with presidents, and lived by a mantra, "Can't stop, won't stop." Yet today, Sean Diddy Combs sits stone-faced in a Manhattan courtroom, staring down a RICO indictment that threatens to erase everything he built. For 3 decades, Combs cultivated the aura of an untouchable mogul. Bad Boys, chart-shattering hits, CİROC deals, Revolt TV, a glittering empire wrapped in designer silk. Prosecutors now say that empire hid a darker machine, hush money payments, intimidation, and a secret network of male escorts choreographed to fulfill Combs's most private appetites. Jurors have already heard whispers of hotel nights, red-lit suites soaked in baby oil, and accusers who claim they were coerced while Combs watched from the shadows. When one witness, known only as Jane, described those nights, the room fell silent. Minutes later, the judge warned Combs to stop nodding at the jury or risk being thrown out entirely. If those allegations stick, the fall could be historic. But behind every headline lies a question more explosive than any chart topper. How did hip-hop's consummate showman allegedly turn fame into a private theater of control? And who else was in on the act? Stick around, because the answers begin long before the courtroom lights ever flickered. The meteoric rise. In 1993, just weeks after being fired from Uptown Records, a 23-year-old Sean Combs scraped together seed money for a new label and christened it Bad Boy Records. Within 2 years, he'd signed the notorious B.I.G., Faith Evans, 112, and Mace, acts that pushed the label's valuation past $100 million before the decade was out and turned the kid from Harlem into hip-hop's most magnetic power broker. Combs refused to slow down. In 2007, he stunned the liquor industry with a 50-50 profit split to market CÎROC vodka, an unprecedented pact projected to earn him 9 figures. And in 2013, he flipped the cable landscape by launching Revolt TV, a music network designed to plug the void MTV left behind. From platinum albums to Sean John suits to De Leon tequila, he looked unstoppable, a one-man conglomerate who turned every party into a brand and every brand into cash. Yet the glare of the spotlight also revealed fissures. A nightclub shooting in December 1999 led to a headline-grabbing trial. Although Combs was acquitted in 2001, testimony about frantic getaways and hidden guns hinted at a combustible temper lurking beneath the tailored tuxedos. Verdict kept him free and made his legend bigger. But it also raised a chilling question. If this was the turbulence the public saw, what storms brewed out of sight? Cracks in the glitter, Cassie era. Cassie Ventura glided into Combs's orbit in 2007, a 21-year-old singer whose single Me and You was climbing the charts. In public, they looked inseparable, matching yachts, Fashion Week VIP rows, slow-motion kisses in music videos. In private, Cassie would later say, they began touching. The scene ended only when dawn climaxed and Combs pulled Jane back to him. What felt exhilarating that first night, Jane testified, soon became routine. From Los Angeles to Miami to Turks and Caicos, 9 out of 10 encounters included another man, while Combs filmed or pleasured himself, sometimes for 24 hours straight, the sheets slick with enough baby oil to empty 24 bottles. The ritual had rules. Combs supplied the drugs, ecstasy, cocaine, nitrous hits, then told Jane what to wear, how to move, and when the escort could finish. She says she consented at first because she loved him and feared losing him, but by late 2021, she was begging to stop. Each protest met the same reply. If she left, he'd cut off the $10,000 rent he paid and the wire transfers she now depended on. So the hotel nights continued, some lasting more than a day, each ending only when the last man was spent. Jane called it a Pandora's box that reset their entire relationship. AOL.com. Twice during her testimony, Combs tried to catch the jury's eye, nodding vigorously, enough for Judge Arun Subramanian to threaten removal from the courtroom if it happened again. The warning hung in the air as Jane returned to the stand, ready to describe the bruises, the texts, and the payments prosecutors say prove Combs ran a criminal sex ring, but the defense was waiting with a different kind of evidence. Hotel receipts that might place him 2,500 miles away from one of the most shocking assaults ever alleged. The next witness, fashion designer Brianna Bana Bongolan, told the jury a story that stole the air from the room. Late one September night in 2016, she says Sean Combs hoisted her over a 17-floor balcony at Cassie Ventura's Los Angeles apartment, threatening to drop her before hurling her back inside and slamming her against furniture, a bruise blooming on her thigh the size of a grapefruit. The defense answered with paperwork. Attorney Nicole Westmoreland flashed hotel receipts and dining tabs linked to the alias Frank Black, all stamped Trump International, New York, September 25 and 26, 2016, the same window Bongolan recalled. One person can't be on two coasts at once, can they? She pressed, hinting that the bruise photo's metadata pointed to a date when Combs was supposedly performing in New Jersey and sleeping uptown. Bongolan conceded her timeline might blur, yet held firm that the balcony error was real. Prosecutors counterpunched with a screenshot. Cassie texting Chief of Staff Christina Karam 4 days later, fuming that Combs had held Bana off the balcony. The image's metadata reads September 30th, 2016, close enough, they argued, to keep the allegation alive. Earlier that day, Combs had tried to sell his innocence with body language, nodding so vigorously at jurors that Judge Arun Subramanian threatened to eject him for jury tampering if it happened again. Now the panel must weigh bruises against boarding passes, a memory that may wobble on dates versus paperwork that might bear an alias's fingerprints. Credibility hangs in the balance, and the next battle will dive straight into the money trail, where wire transfers, rent checks, and whispered payouts could speak louder than any scar. Money, power, silence. For decades, critics whispered that when Sean Combs couldn't charm a problem away, he paid it away, turning crisp wire transfers into vault-quiet secrets. Prosecutors now argue that cash wasn't just a perk of his stardom. It was the lubricant that kept an illicit engine humming behind velvet ropes. Jane's testimony laid the foundation. She said Combs covered her $10,000 a month rent and sprinkled allowances into her account, support that evaporated the moment she balked at another hotel night. If you want to break up, that's fine, she recalled him, warning. But I'm not paying rent for a woman I'm not seeing. People.com then came Cassie Ventura's bombshell, an under-oath confirmation that Combs wired her $20 million to make a 2023 civil suit vanish within 24 hours. The settlement, she testified, bought silence but ignited louder questions. Why pay 8 figures if the claims were, as his lawyer said, a shakedown? CelebrityNetWorth.com. Jurors also heard about hush money aimed at outsiders. A hotel security guard testified that Combs peeled off $100,000 to bury surveillance footage of a hallway assault, complete with instructions not to make any big purchases that might tip off investigators. Paper alone, though, wasn't always enough. Leaked, ironclad NDAs, so strict they bound heirs as well as signers, warned employees and party guests never to record, photograph, or speak about what they saw in those red-lit suites. Lawyers have called the language terrifying and purposefully intimidating, a velvet-covered gag that kept potential witnesses second-guessing every word. If the jury agrees with prosecutors, Sean Combs could trade silk suits for a jumpsuit. RICO and sex trafficking counts carry sentences that, stacked together, could keep him in federal prison for life. Even before a verdict, the financial bleeding is severe. His once lucrative liquor pact with Diageo imploded. Retail partners yanked Sean John from shelves, and he quietly sold off his remaining stake in Revolt TV last summer as sponsors fled. The ripple spread fast. 18 brands abandoned Empower Global, his marketplace for Black-owned businesses, within days of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit, citing a mission to empower women, not enable predators. Luminate data show his airplay has cratered more than 80% since jury selection began, with major US and European stations dropping his catalog entirely. All told, analysts peg the damage in the high 9 figures, erasing the billionaire status he once flaunted. Industry allies who crowned him king of hip-hop entrepreneurship now distance themselves, while collaborators like Kid Cudi testify for the prosecution and festival bookers scrub his name from lineups. Inside the courtroom, prosecutors call it proof that his empire ran on fear and payouts. The defense insists it's a media-fueled pile-on against a consensual lifestyle. Yet one truth is undeniable. Every witness, every leaked NDA, every dropped endorsement chips away at the image Combs built over 3 decades. Whatever the verdict, the question now echoing through boardrooms and studios is bigger than one mogul. Can the music industry keep ignoring what happens behind the velvet ropes once the lights go down? Conclusion echoes after the verdict. From Harlem's record store hustle to caviar-soaked yacht parties, Sean Diddy Combs built a legend on charisma, ambition, and relentless swagger. Yet witness after witness has peeled back the velvet, describing a parallel empire of NDAs, payoffs, and red-lit hotel nights that could send the mogul from Forbes lists to federal lockup. If jurors buy the government's RICO blueprint, the final track on Combs's career may play out behind razor wire. If they don't, he still faces the wreckage of brands deserted, fortunes drained, and a public eye that no longer blinks. So, ask yourself, does superstar power excuse secrets or expose them? Was Bad Boy's crown secured solely by platinum beats or by silence that money could buy and fear could enforce? Drop your thoughts below, because while the courtroom will render its verdict soon, the culture-wide reckoning over power, consent, and accountability is only getting started.